We're live. I don't see nobody. Hey guys. Wait for some more people to join before I get started. How you guys doing? Alright. Okay. Alright, let's get started. So, what's up guys? So I'm really excited. I'm going to be talking with Shaniqua McClendon today. And she's the political director for Vote Save America and Crooked Media. So she's going to be running through some voting basics with me today so we can all learn a bit more about the election process before voting in November. Because I know for me, this is my first time voting and I want a little bit more information before I make a big decision before I vote. So make sure you check out the votesaveamerica.com after this. They have a bunch of useful resources and information that'll help you stay informed with voting. But okay, cool. Now I'm going to bring Shaniqua in and we can get started. Let me see if she requested. Hey guys, let's see. Can't find you. Let's see. Where's she at? I'm actually so excited because I've never really gotten into politics as much as, I probably should be now. So I'm really excited to learn some new things and this will be fun. Just trying to find her right now. Let's see. Still searching. So many people are requesting it, and I'm like, wait, I gotta search through it all.
See it? Vote Save America.
Oh, there we go. And connecting.
Hi,
Hey, what's up?
how are you?
I'm doing good. I was looking for your name, like Shaniqua.
I figured that.
How you doing?
I am doing good. It's a nice day in LA, so how are you?
Yeah?
Yeah, that's where Crooked is. A lot of people think we're in DC, but we're in LA.
Oh, sick. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a beautiful day right now. I'm closer to the marina, so it's just like a little bit overcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually so excited because I've never really gotten into politics as much.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm getting older, I'm like, okay, part obviously it's also really important. So I'm really excited to learn from you. I know all my fans are excited to hear, so they'll get a little bit educated. So
Yeah.
um,
And don't feel bad. I didn't really learn about politics until I started my internship when I was 22 or 23. So
really, okay, cool.
yeah,
Okay, great.
you're ahead of the curve.
I was like, man, I really don't know anything, so I'm really excited to learn. But yeah, so I guess I'll get right into it. So my first is, so I'm voting for the first time, and are there any tips on how I can stay?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I'm biased. I think Vote Save America is like the best place that you can stay informed. We have, I know you were mentioning it before we got started, but we have a ton of information. It's votesaveamerica.com. You can literally go find your state and get all the information you need. So, a lot of people think everyone just knows everything they need to know about voting, but a lot of people don't know that you have to register first. There's a deadline to register. And then in the midst of coronavirus, it's safer for a lot of people to vote by mail. So there's, rules around that as well. So we have all of that on the website. But when you're thinking about who you want to vote for, we'll have that information on the site. But I think it's important for people to do an extra layer of research. So, go to your candidates' websites, see what their policies are. I also, our cable news can sometimes be biased. So
Yeah.
looking at your local news
Everywhere, not just like specific source.
Right. And so, I mean, if you're going to watch cable news, just know what you're getting into, get a sense of, kind of where they fall and what they believe. But local news is a really good place to get more objective information. So newspapers and local news stations, they are just trying to give you information, not tell you how to think one way or the other. So, I think those are all good places you can find information.
Perfect. So the young vote matters now more than ever. vote for each election?
Yeah, so it will depend whether it's an election, a presidential year or a non-presidential year, but this is a presidential year, so we can
Yeah.
talk about that. Young people have the lowest turnout, oftentimes. I was looking at a graph before we hopped on, and everyone goes up and down, but 18 to 19 was underneath everyone. When I was looking at the chart, there was a really interesting stat up there. But in 2008, when Barack Obama was first running for president, turnout amongst people 18 to 29 was 48.4%, which is almost 50%, which is like really good relative to what we do in the past, but it's still only half.
Yeah.
But in 2016, it was 43.4. So that's like 5 percentage point decrease, which is the difference between Barack Obama being president and like Donald Trump being president.
Yeah.
So, it might not seem like a big decrease, but any addition that you can get from young people can really swing the election in one way. And that's what happened in 2018. More young people voted, and we saw a lot more progressive candidates get elected to office.
Yeah. Do you think it's because a lot of young people probably just don't know much about it, so they're a little bit scared? Because I know for me, I didn't really know. I don't know too much, so it's like I wouldn't do it unless I had like the information or like the education of like why it's important. These are the things that you need to do it. So
that is. So when we were building Vote Save America, there's a lot of great campaigns out there that want people to get registered and go vote. And they say register and go vote. And they don't tell you all the stuff in between.
Yeah.
So that's why we created Vote Save America, so that you could see all the information. But also one of the big reasons, it's not that young people don't care. They don't want to make the wrong decision. They want to make sure they have enough information. So we actually have, I don't know if I'm supposed to be sharing this, but we're going to be updating our website soon so that it's more focused on the general election. And you'll be able to go through Joe Biden and Donald Trump and see what do they believe on these issues, and just do a comparison.
Wow.
As we get closer to the election, we'll actually have a tool where you can type in your address. It'll pull up the ballot that's local to you.
Yeah.
You can research the candidates who will be on the ballot, so you can have that information and
That's so incredible, because I know sometimes you just see, you see the people, you don't really know what you want to do. So that's actually really helpful to see that. Can you help explain the difference between the popular vote and the electoral vote?
Yes. So the popular vote is just like if there was an election and, me, you, and 2 and 3 other people were voting, and there were 5 total votes. That's the popular vote. It's like our literal vote being counted one by one person, one vote. And that's how we elect senators, mayors. Pretty much it's how we elect everyone except for the president. And so the electoral vote is the vote that comes out of the Electoral College. And the Electoral College is a group of people who represent each state, and they come together every 4 years to basically vote for the president. Now, they typically they use a popular vote to inform their vote. So in California, I think there are 55 electoral voters or members of the Electoral College. And so if California, as it typically does, votes for a Democratic president, those 55 electoral college voters will also vote that way. But for California, that's fine. But you have states where it's pretty close. So you might have 49% of the population vote one way and 51% of the population vote the other way. But whoever got 51% gets 100% of the electoral votes.
Right.
And so that's kind of why there's a ton of complaints about the Electoral College, because, if you live in a purple state, which is a state that's pretty evenly split between Republicans and Democrats, you only have to win by this much to, take the whole state. So
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's crazy. Okay, so my next question. I've seen a lot about the mail-in voting. Is that an easier way to vote?
So overall, yes. And I feel like my coworkers get sick of me saying this, but I'll dive into vote by mail. But one thing I always like to point out is vote by mail is, I vote by mail. And for those who live in a place where they have a reliable mail system, it's easy. For those of us who don't have any disabilities that, make it hard to fill out a ballot on our own, or any language barriers that require assistance in voting. If you don't have those, if you don't have to face those obstacles, then yes, it's an easier option. And I also say that if more people vote by mail, the people who then have to go to the voting booth, then it's safer for them, especially during coronavirus. So with that said, if you can vote by mail, yes, we want you to vote by mail. We'll actually have a tool up on our site next week, I think, where you can request your absentee ballot. And so the only thing is, not every state has the same rules. In California, they send out ballots. There are 3 states that everything is vote by mail. I mean, you can vote in person if you want, but you just automatically get a ballot in the mail. Then there's places like North Carolina, where I'm from, and you have to go through the process of requesting a ballot, but it's pretty simple. But then you have other states who you have to have an excuse. And so you have to, be bedridden and can't leave the house, or you're out of town or out of the country or something like that. But some states are really strict. And so, if you don't hit all of those marks, you can't vote by mail. But if you can, definitely request your ballot as soon as possible, because a lot of election officials are going to get more requests than usual. And so they're going to be a bit overwhelmed. So it's better to get it in sooner rather than later.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I think oh, what was that?
Make sure you have stamps.
Yeah, right. Cool. So what are the trends we're seeing this year for voting given the pandemic?
Yeah, I think it's, vote by mail. And I was doing a little research for something else that I was working on. And in 2016, about 20% of young voters voted by mail. And I think a lot of that goes back to the question you asked, just about voting, voting smart in general. And if people don't have the information, then they don't know it's an option, and they don't know how easy it is. So the biggest trend we are seeing is making sure getting more people signed up to vote by mail, so that then, again, people who do have to show up to the voting booth have a safer experience. But the other part of that is making sure there's more places to vote, and that there are more days to vote. Again, just like spreading people out.
Right.
Yeah.
I know that's a good way for me, because I know I'm always like traveling. I'm always doing like, there's always something happening. So I feel like for me, that's like an easy way. It's very accessible.
Then you can have your ballot and sit at a computer and look up the people on the ballot versus being in the booth.
Yeah, exactly. You can do your research while you're doing it, and so you don't I think that's really important. So I know why the election is so important this year, but why I want to hear why is the election so important this year?
Okay. I feel like I'm always just saying this, so now I get to say it when someone has actually asked me. I think first and foremost, we're going to have a lot of people who are on the ballot this year, but, as far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump, I don't want to get too partisan, but, he needs to be out of the White House. I think a lot of people who voted in 2016, especially those who weren't excited about Hillary, had this thought of, well, it doesn't really matter. And it does matter. And I think right now you can especially see it. We can always see it, but you think about the start of the coronavirus pandemic, who was in office, not just in the White House, but our senators, who's in the House, our governors, especially our mayors, who was elected is very much the outcome of what we're experiencing right now. And having to stay home right now and wear masks and do things like that. But then you move a little further in the timeline from coronavirus, and you look at all of the protests that erupted after George Floyd was killed. And again, mayors decide who your police chiefs are. They set the tone for what's happening in police departments, and district attorneys and prosecutors. Those are elected positions that, they determine who's going to have charges pressed against them and things like that. So, this election gets to determine a lot of that, but also, we found out that Ruth Bader Ginsburg has cancer again. And so, our Supreme Court justices the president decides who to nominate, and then the Senate decides who actually gets to sit on the court for the rest of their life. And, we saw some good decisions come out of the court recently, but that's not always, going to be the case. So there's so many kind of different things that each level of government does that, just makes it all important.
Yeah, gotcha. So does it matter if I live in a very red or blue state, or like, vote matter?
Absolutely. I always tell people, yes, everyone's vote matters regardless of where you live. And I always use California as an example. Last year, you know, everyone's whole thing is California's blue. It's great. I mean, I thought the same thing before I moved out here. And by and large, it is a pretty blue state. But there were 7 districts that were represented by Republicans that Hillary Clinton had won. And if everyone in California said, oh, you know, my vote doesn't matter because I live in a super blue state, you know, there's a chance we might not have flipped the House. So that's important. And another thing, there are a ton, you know, there's a fair amount of Republicans who live in California. And, you know, I just was talking about those voting rates. I think turnout last year was around, I mean, in 2016 was a little over 50%. And that means that, you know, if half of the state's not voting, what if all of those are Republicans? What if California is not as blue as we think it is, but there's so many people saying that, so they don't turn out to vote? And the other thing I will say is local elections, we can't always think about the presidency and these big Senate races. Local elections sometimes come down to a few hundred votes. So if you are telling yourself that your vote doesn't matter because, you know, whatever political ideology your state has, it definitely does. And there's someone who is hoping you don't vote so that they can get into office and do what they want to do.
So true. Wow, that's a good way to put it. So if someone didn't support Joe Biden in the primary, why should we support him now?
Yes, you know, this kind of goes back to what I was saying before. We are seeing the outcome of who's in office right now. So, you know, I will be very honest right now. I did not vote for Joe Biden in the primary. And, you know, I was really disappointed when my candidate got out. But as soon as she got out, you know, I knew it was time to focus on getting Joe Biden elected. And something that I think is really important for people to think about is Trump's in the White House right now, and he's not listening to any of us. If Joe Biden is in the White House, you might not agree with him, but he's not even, you know, we haven't even had the election yet, and he's already being pushed on issues that are important to people because he will actually listen to people like us. And so it's important, even if you don't agree with someone, it's important to have someone in office who will listen to you, try to, you know, understand what it is you want. And on a lot of things, you can probably, even if you can't get them where you want them to be, you can get them closer to what you want. And ultimately, you know, your vote is the one thing you have that is equal to everyone else's, barring voter suppression. But, you know, it's equal to everyone else's, and you get to have a say in what the country looks like. And, you know, why wouldn't you want to have a say in what the country looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely something I've been thinking about. It's like, I want to have a say, you know, I really want to be educated so I can, you know, do the right thing. I think it's important that everyone votes. Obviously, that's why we're having this.
Yeah.
But so why is the Senate important to?
Yes. Okay. I feel, so I used to work in the Senate, and when I stopped working in the Senate, it was because my boss lost her reelection. And so, you know, even if it's only to make me happy, so we can get Mitch McConnell out of that leadership position. But the Senate does a lot of things. And so a little earlier, I mentioned the Supreme Court. Donald Trump, if we can flip the Senate, Donald Trump can nominate whoever he wants for the Supreme Court, but if the Senate doesn't like that person, they will not be put on the Supreme Court. So it creates a bit of incentive for whoever's in the White House to choose a candidate for the Supreme Court, and actually all judicial positions that, you know, is more in line with where our country is. Our country isn't super far to the right, as a whole, isn't super far to the right or super far to the left. And so, you know, it helps moderate the choices that are coming out of there. But also, we got the House of Representatives in 2018. They've passed so many bills, and they go to the Senate, and they just die. They just sit there, and nothing ever happens to them. So it's also, you know, important for that. And, you know, kind of going back to judicial appointments, we focus on the Supreme Court a lot, but Trump has appointed, I think he's in the top 2 or 3 presidents who has appointed the most judicial appointments. And these, when you think about the cases that make it to the Supreme Court, they make it there because they have to travel through these lower courts. And so it's the Senate just, they have control over a lot of things, and it's important that we, pay attention to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what makes the 6 battleground states, not the states, so important?
Yes. So this goes back to the Electoral College. If we elected presidents by popular vote, then we could just let we could just let people vote the way they vote, and we would probably be fine. We saw that in 2016. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have the Electoral College, and so the 6 states that we chose are 6 states. 3 were very Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan. 3 states that Trump barely won, but they gave him the edge over Hillary Clinton through electoral votes to win the election. And the other 3 states are states that are either trending blue or Florida. It just kind of goes back and forth. But they have enough electoral votes that can, if we lose one of those other 3 states, can help balance it out to still result in a victory. And so those 6 states, if we can win 3 or 4 of them, some combination, then we can win the electoral vote and have someone new in office in the White House. But the other thing about those 6 states is they also hit some other markers. For instance, North Carolina, Arizona, and Michigan have Senate races. And so if we can, help them while we help the whole state turn blue, that's an opportunity. And in next year, redistricting is going to happen. So that's a process by which our congressional lines are drawn. And they can be done fairly, or you can have gerrymandering happen where my home state is unfortunately really good at it, where you have a state that's about 50% Republicans and 50% Democrats, but they have forced all the Democrats into these districts. And so, our House delegation has 3 Democrats and 3 Democrats and 10 Republicans, and that is not really reflective of the state.
Yeah.
So if we can elect the right people in state houses this year, we can make sure that process is also more fair. So, yeah.
Wow. That was my last question, but I've just taken so much information.
Yeah, no.
Down. It's been super, super helpful. Honestly, I'm excited to vote and to get everything.
Yeah. Well, I hope everyone else is too. I think something I didn't say earlier, millennials and Gen Z, both those generations together have more eligible voters than baby boomers, but baby boomers vote at a higher rate. So if we can increase our participation, we get to say, who's in charge. So I just want people to keep that in mind and remember we can make the difference.
Absolutely. And I feel like with this generation, it's we really have something to say, and it's like everyone wants to be a part of it. Everyone wants to help make a difference, especially with this generation.
Yep.
So I'm just really excited.
Yeah, and thank you for doing this. I think it's great that you care and you want your fans to know what's going on too. So we're always happy to help if you need anything.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was like 2 birds with 1 stone. Everyone, they get to learn, I get to learn from you. So thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye.